You are being programmed.
So we have to prepare for a more angry world.
So here's a few quotes by him. This is just from the Jerusalem Post, and it's talking about the human mind being hacked. Here's the quote: "If you don't get to know yourself better, there is somebody out there who is right now trying to hack you. And not just one. Amazon is trying to hack you, Google is trying to hack you, and Coca-Cola is trying to hack you. And the Russians and the American government and the Chinese, they're all trying to hack you right now." One of the dangers in the 21st century is that machine learning, artificial intelligence, will make centralised systems much more efficient than distributed systems, and dictatorships might become more efficient than democracies. I strongly believe that given the technologies we are now developing, within a century or two at most, our species will disappear. I don't think that in the end of the 22nd century, the Earth will be dominated by Homo sapiens. So here's a little on the Swabian League, and you'll understand why I put this in soon. The Swabian League was a mutual defence and peacekeeping association of the imperial estates, free imperial cities, the prelates, the principalities and knights, basically of Europe. Now, what God has joined, let man not separate, and that is their motto at the bottom, you can see in Latin. Now let's look at the Swabian League flag. And it should be quite familiar. As you can see, I've just highlighted it there, but I'll put up an image now so you can see it a little bit closer. And again, does it look familiar? Yep, it's St. George's Cross. Now we've seen these bound around Europe from Genoa, who I have heavily researched, and Milan and Bologna and things like that. But the symbol was adopted by the Swabian League in the pre-Reformation, of the Holy Roman Empire. And obviously you can't forget the Knights Templar, that connection also with that flag, the St. George's Cross. Now what's intriguing about this is that in the peasant revolt of 1524 to 25, the Swabian League Knights are supposed to be identified as peacekeepers like the UN. But this is where it gets a little bit 50-50. Some say the Swabian League slaughtered up to 100,000 of the 300,000 poorly armed peasants and farmers that revolted. Now here's a little bit just to show you this. So here I want to read this out, and you can see it's quite contradictory, but it's still showing you what I was talking about. So, to the protesting peasants of early 1525, the Swabian League was a possible mediator between the peasants and their lords. To the defeated rebels of later that same year, the Swabian League was the arch enemy feared and distrusted by who had taken part in the revolt, and many who had not. To the earliest historians of 1525 revolt, the Swabian League was the defender of order and justice in early modern German society, a bit like the United Nations, etc. Always seen as the, order and justice. So to later historians who focus increasingly upon the rebels, the Swabian League became one of the principal villains of the revolt, suppressing the legitimate quest of the rebels for freedom, or at least for alleviation or elevation of the conditions under which they had laboured in late medieval society. None of these images is entirely accurate, but they developed by modern students of the peasants' wars deserve particular attention if the Swabian League's intervention in the revolt is to be fully understood. The role of the Swabian League in the military suppression of the German peasant revolts of 1525 has led many modern researchers to conclude that the League, or at least in question of peasant disobedience, was an organisation ruthlessly dedicated to the interests of its members, the princes, the prelates, the imperial nobility, the imperial cities who had formed the League in 1488. Now this is where it gets funny, because it says Habsburg, the Holy Roman Empire, and I'll get into that a little bit now, formed this Swabian League in 1488. And in fact, it's not been going along for longer than that. So you can see the contradictory nature of his story again. But it is still intriguing. I just wanted to show you this bit, because what I'm going to show you about Klaus Schwab, you will understand why I've showed you this about the Swabian League. So in my opinion, the Swabian League was like a precursor for the United Nations, the EU. They look after their own. I mean, Klaus Schwab even is an advisor to the United Nations. So you can just see the agenda and the influence he has. And here, the UN and the World Economic Forum signed a strategic partnership framework for the Agenda 2030. So look at the name. This is what got me into talk about the Swabian League. Schwab name actually derives from Swabian. As you can see, German and Jewish Ashkenazic habitational name for someone from Swabia. So obviously the region where the Swabian League came from, his name derives from that. So I'm not asking for a long stretch to say, could his ancestors be a part of the Swabian League, where he was brought up in a place called Ravensburg, I believe. That was actually one of the 3 cities involved in the Swabian League. So yeah, I can actually see why I put the Swabian League in, talking about how it's rebranded, because his actual name comes from Swabian, the actual league of free cities and knights. That, for me, was the precursors for the EU, the United Nations, etc, etc. So if you search engine who created the Swabian League, this is the top result that they give you all the time, and they say it's Emperor Frederick III of Habsburg, the Holy Roman Empire, in 1488, which is true, but it isn't, because it's been recreated, it's been shut down on a few occasions over the years and centuries. Now what's funny is obviously the Habsburgs are a famous name, and they also rule Swabia and come out from the Swabian region. So you can see how influential this region is, and we know the joke about the Habsburgs and how they look like Zuckerberg. It gets me all the time when I see that. But the first time it was formed was in basically November the 20th, 1331, which is intriguing, as November is originally 9 and the 2 does create 11, a gateway, a doorway event. But the World Economic Forum and their little statement committed to improving the state of the world, and they do this through the Forum of Young Global Leaders who they're shaping the future. They're trying to control everything. But look who appears years ago as one of their members and their community. Yes, one in the same who we've just been talking about, Mark Zuckerberg. And he isn't the only one. They have their fingers in the pies of all these young world leaders, not necessarily political leaders, but also business leaders. For instance, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France. He was one of those too. So you can just see how wow and ominous it gets. It always gets me. I mean, Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and all of the good stuff. Tongue in cheek, I say that. She's getting up to. They even have people in BlackRock, for all those people who research and look into BlackRock. They have a lady there, Ja'ud Abdel Mahajid, who's for BlackRock. But it reminds me, there's so much that. Remember the TV series The Following? Joe Carroll reminds me of Klaus Schwab and how he's got people undercover all around the world in every walks of life. I mean, this meme's been bandied about the Great Reset. What we are very proud of now is that we've penetrated the cabinets around the world. And you're like, wow, is that a misquote? You can't have said that really. I mean, you can just see some of the faces. How deep this really goes. And this Joe Carroll, aka Klaus Schwab, has basically all these people under his control. Now check this out.
And I have to say, when I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
So you just saw the interview like I did, where he was reeling out all the names, well, some of the names that he's helped to grow in the world leaders, the Global Leaders Forum that he set up. It's crazy, isn't it? It's like ominous, it's scary, yet you're like, wow, that makes sense now. So he has all these people, he's influenced all these people, and that interview was basically at the John F. Kennedy School of Government, which he was a member of. He was taught, as you can see from the picture, by Henry Kissinger. So that's intriguing in the sense he's just gone back to the school where he was a pupil, and it's crazy because I thought it was a misquote. So you're not going to come out and say all that. Then I find the video of him talking about how he's basically so proud of having people over 50% in cabinets, whether that's just talking about Trudeau's cabinet or the world cabinet. But you can find other people on the forum who the community all being influenced by him. So it is crazy, it is wow, and it sure is a bit scary to see the influence like Joe Carroll in the TV series The Following. It is to me anyway. So we have Ted Ross here from, The Who, and he's meeting Professor Klaus Schwab, the founder and chairman of the WEF. Great discussions on shaping the future of global health, innovation and preparedness for health emergencies. Looking forward to a closer WHO-WEF collaboration. Well, for people out there who are asking, come on, Paul, how much of a reach this guy's got? It is crazy, isn't it, guys? It really is crazy how this guy is like a linchpin to a lot of what's going on. And this is one of the major times people started taking notice when he came out with this quote. The pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine and reset our world. It's crazy. And also, this is on his website, also with this. Right, guys, I just wanted to share this with you. It's only quick. Now, this is on the World Economic Forum website. Now, in the community, when we're making videos and we're talking about a reset, we generally show a GIF or an image of pressing the button to set off an explosion or something to put into motion. You wouldn't expect these guys to put it on their own website, would you? It's a bit for me. So as you can see, sustainable development. Now is a time for a great reset. June the 3rd, 2020. And as you can see, push to reset the world. Now, you wouldn't expect that to put it on the own World Economic Forum website, would you? And then in little small letters writing at the bottom, in every crisis there is an opportunity. Hence why they created the pandemic, because it's an opportunity to reset and mould the world into what shape these guys want. So you guys at home would be thinking, when is he going to put 11 in? When's he going to put an 11? Because he loves to get these 11s in. And I hate to let you guys down. So here's Klaus Schwab, 1325. Yep, adds to 11. Just a coincidence that though, and I've done it all wrong. The World Economic Forum, 9 add 11, 9, 11, 9 add 2 ones is an 11. Automatically, we think of this time period in time. Basically, the first major reset of our minds and ideology in the world. Did you guys know that Klaus Schwab was in New York at the time? This is off the WEF's website. On September the 10th, 2001, my wife and I arrived in New York as I was about to receive the Candlelight Award from the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. That night, we had a very inspiring conversation with Annan and many members of the partners of the World Economic Forum. Now, here's like the leaflet I found for it. You can see the symbolism in it as well. It's creepy. It's like one of the towers or phallic worship. It's crazy. It's so in your face. Anyway, the next morning, September the 11th, I was planning to attend a meeting with the newspaper editors directly across from the Twin Towers. For sheer coincidence, just another one of those coincidences, the meeting was rescheduled and I was on my way to the Upper East Side instead. It's like they knew something was happening. You tell me the WEF and the UN and all them were all in New York at that time for one of the biggest events to ever happen in the 11th state, which is New York, on the 11th. And these guys were there. It was a ritual. These guys wanted to be involved and wanted to be seen to be there, and they had to see it. This is crazy. And it's just blown me away. I didn't even know he was there. And as you can see, when they were all meeting with candlelights, have a look who was there with a candle. Crazy world we live in, and this is just another to show you how significant this guy is. Many don't think he's as insignificant. He's insignificant. This has changed my mind completely. And here we have the Forum of Young Global Leaders, 1424, and obviously adds to 11. Now, what platform are you using to show this video? Will give you a big clue to who this person is. So have a guess. It won't be hard. Anyway, he is one of the young members, global leaders. His name is Chad Hurley. He's the founder of Avos. I still wouldn't have known who he was, but obviously because I've given you a little clue, we know he was the founder of YouTube. So this guy is the founder of YouTube, sold it to Google. Obviously, he's still an advisor. But guys, again, it's just showing you the influence of Klaus Schwab. Just crazy. It's basically infiltrated everywhere. So we've seen this image banded around on social media. I've made memes of it. I'm sure you guys have made memes of it. It's meme worthy. Anyway, people were asking, what is it? What's the symbols mean? And well, I found them. As you can see, he's at an award ceremony. People were talking about it's a secret society. Well, it's actually a college's logo. He actually won an honorary doctorate or doctorate, as you can see, picking it up here. And the actual university is in Lithuania. It's called KTU, and that's their logo. So as you can see, I just wanted to let people know that. I was intrigued myself because there's not much information on it. But what's intriguing and like ominous is the fact that his inspiration that he says made him do what he does is the Club of Rome. They're like a depopulation group. One of the co-founders is David Rockefeller. So that says it all. And that's where he says he gets his inspiration from for setting up the WEF, the World Economic Forum, in the first place. Also that we see banded around is his dad here, Gottfried. And they basically say he was a Nazi soldier, and this is the image that's used. Now, I can't say if it is or not, but I have found that that image on the left is being associated to someone called Walter Dibalask. So they're saying it's not the same person, but I don't know. And I'm just putting it out there for you guys to actually see. There's also another fact that his mum was a Rothschild. She was, but they're not saying she was one of the Rothschilds. So we can't prove any of this, but it's information that we have to share. And I just want to let people know if they see, oh, Paul said she's a Rothschild and then she's not. I don't know. I'm just saying it's been fact checked, but we know what fact checkers are like. So there we go, guys. I'm just going to come up with my thoughts now because this is just a beginner video on the topic. Hello and welcome. Right, guys, I want to say thank you again for the support, the love, the messages. When YouTube let me actually read them, breathtaking. I'm just thankful for the support. It means a lot to me. I thank you for the people who are sharing and letting people know to check out the channel. I appreciate the people who go and actually buy me a coffee. It gets me very, very emotional. You know, guys, I'm an emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve. What you see is what you get. And I'm just thankful for people who are sharing my work, giving me messages of support for me to keep going. And obviously, buy me coffee. You can't do without anyone. It's just breathtaking. And it shows you what people are capable of. And it makes me proud to be a part of it. Right, guys, onto the video. It's not an in-depth, by all means. It's just a foray to look at Klaus Schwab, because for a long time I've seen people posting images of him, this and that, and like thought, yeah, I know the guy, what type of scenario is going on there. We all do. We don't really need to investigate it, and sometimes that's to our own detriment and downfall. So I would just want to take a quick look at Klaus Schwab and see what I could find, and I will do an in-depth later on. But like I said, we know I just go from one topic to another, and I'm all over the place sometimes, but it shocked me, to be honest, of what I found just doing a basic quick look into the guy. So I would say to people, when you finish a topic, have a quick look into this guy, because there's people out there doing more in-depth stuff. And because I have a platform and I have some good like-minded individuals who, like me, are looking at other things, and it's not we know, yeah, dodgy, move on type of thing. We need to look into these people, and so this is just my little first look at it and showing you what I found. It's not going to be rocket science. Probably all of you might know, but it's just giving the little impetus to maybe look into it in depth, like some people out there are doing. So it intrigued me, and the question I was asking basically was Klaus Schwab setting up or basically redoing, remoulding, rebranding the Swabian League. Now, if you talk about the Swabian League, that is the region of Swabia, obviously in Germany, and that's where he's from. And when I found out the etymology of his name, from Schwab, meaning Swabia, and obviously the Duchy of Swabia, and then the Holy Roman Empire and all that, you're talking about a culture, an ethos, organisation that is the precursor for the United Nations, the EU, and other central governments. So it's just strange that this Swabian League, a so-called peacekeeping force, they were basically knights, soldiers, and they were there to protect the free cities, the free men, which, obviously go into secret societies, and the nobility and the elites. So basically, they work for them. So you can actually see, yeah, it is, because these, the World Economic Forum are doing the fourth revolution, industrial revolution, and that word we don't know to say about the pandemic is, yes, it's a good start. It's a good start, and it's what we need to change. And we need the reset, and they're talking the resets and reset this and reset that. And they're talking about out of, adversity comes, basically opportunities. And when you think of it like that, sometimes it goes straight past you. It does go, when we're talking like this, sometimes we take things for granted in the community, and just because we know roughly, they're not like good people, it just goes over you and we don't look into it. So a society of knights that have the same flag as the Templars. Geneva, obviously, is like the Duchy of Swabia's crest, also the red flag. We're talking about itchy eye, itchy eye. What's going on? So the flag, the St. George's Cross, was adopted. Again, that intrigues me. I mean, even Klaus Schwab was knighted. He was knighted by the Queen and given the Order of St. Michael and St. George, the commander of. So we can see just how deep. And he's got countless and countless and countless of awards, doctorates, not knighthood, but high peerage, elite, pats on the back type of thing, medals. It's crazy. So the Swabian League looked after the rich and the nobility. And we're talking about a reset. It's never good for us poor down folk, is it? It's you know what I mean. We've always got to pay for it, not just with monetary value, but our lives. And like the peasant revolt, the Swabian League, if you look at it from one point of history, they were a peacekeeping force like the UN, and we know some of the things that's happened on with the United Nations, the force, and the Swabian League was accused of massacring. So you can see why, just from looking at his name and his etymology, being tied from Swab to Swabia, where he actually comes from. How deep does he go? Is he from nobility back in the day? And I mean, in the time of the Swabian League created, because it was been created and disbanded on numerous occasions when these free cities actually needed the protection. And like I said, the most famous time it was recreated, and I've included it in my vowel shift video, was the Holy Roman Emperor. And it's intriguing because the Holy Roman Empire used what he calls his monogram, the device AEIOU. So did he use that into a reset of sorts? And it's all happened in, yes, the Great Vowel Shift period. So it's not me going to speak in depth and show you how he has links to this and this. I can show you can briefly see what it is. This is just like an introductory video for myself, looking at Klaus Schwab, and there's so much I've got to look into, but it's intriguing when we just start to look and we find that he obviously is based in Davos, and that has ties back in the day, and I mean like ancient, from Rome, because they speak a Romance language because he got invaded. So it all ties to Rome, and all the roads lead to Rome, the Romans. And it's just intriguing, isn't it? Because he uses the Club of Rome as his inspiration for setting it up in the first place. So there's all ties. And I believe with Davos and the cantons, that's what they call the districts in that area, there's 11, if I remember. So that piqued my interest. So it's just intriguing, isn't it? And it's just a brief look. For instance, I did not know that he was in New York at that time in when the world changed, and it changed the community. It changed how people researched. I don't like using the word conspiracy theorist, but that's what we get labelled, and that is when the CIA, obviously, the conspiracy was really, really created, because people have always looked into stuff, but that's when it really first started for a lot of people in the community decided on that subject, because they knew what they were being told. So that guy was there with the UN, the WEF, and all the world leaders. That doesn't get announced much. So isn't it strange that everyone was there for an event in time, and it was like they were there to watch and revel in what they created? That says enough for me. And how it was coincidentally got moved on the morning, these interviews that were faced the two towers. Isn't that uncanny? It's like they knew. That really gets me. And he was there to pick up the Candlelight Award. And if you saw the image, in the video. It is like very symbolic, not just of phallic worship, but a candle, like flames, you know what I mean, and the tower's being burnt, and that was what he was winning, or was getting from the UN Secretary General, whatever his name is, Kofi Annan at the time, for his achievements and recognising that we need a reset. All that shite that they come up with, and the doctorate, and the, you know, to reprogram people. So he was actually there on that day. I never knew that, so I just thought it was intriguing, and it just proves it. They love to witness, they love to sit back and see the handiwork start, and they were all there for that time in his story. Then you start looking at to what he's done to create. Obviously, he went to the JFK College or university, whatever, to do the lead thing. And obviously, he's gone away from that with Kissinger and all the shady little people, and set up his own, you know, I think it was the World Management Symposium or something like that, and he changed it to WEF later on. And then in the 80s and 90s, he started the Young Global Leaders. Hear the video. He strings off the names, and that's just the ones he's mentioned in that. And if you really rewind, you can see, and the prince, the president of Wales, and the president of Argentina. So he's actually talking that he's got the now king in his pocket. And all the world leaders, not necessarily just government, it's both. It's people in business, you know, the huge world firms. And they have all these world leaders, and they're bragging about it. He was talking about how he was talking to Trudeau, and he had over 50%, and then he went back, it's more than that, of the government were his global leaders community. That should make you go, wow, and a little bit scared and a little bit excited all in one, because he's basically just telling you right there. Like if you watched the TV series The Following, I've only watched the first two. I'm on the second season now, and I only did 3. But if you've not watched it, it's about a serial killer, Joe Carroll. He likes to use Edgar Allan Poe as his inspiration. He's in prison. He escaped through, you know, people, his followers kidnapping and the usual stuff. But he has people in the police force, in the FBI, in high-ranking levels, even your grandmother. So he's infiltrated everywhere like a web. And he's done the same with this web, this global leaders forum, getting all the up-and-coming leaders like Mark Zuckerberg, who looks like Hasberg, and I had to put that in. He was Facebook and Meta. You have the guy who owned YouTube. Obviously, they sold it to Google, but he's an advisor. And you will have loads of people. There was loads that I didn't include, that supposedly Elon Musk is one of them as well. But that was on Wikipedia, and we know they can be altered. So, obviously, I only wanted to put in a few that I found, Macron and Jacinda, just to show you how deep it goes. So, could we be saying, we're making a mountain of molehill? You could always say that about anything. It's how we look. But we have to start looking like they do. Now, it's clinical. They're trying to bring in their agendas through resets, pandemics, and they have the major leaders, not just in government, but in business. So they control all facets of the media, which we know, but to see it on their community websites, the Club of Rome, obviously backed by, it was the Rockefeller, and then you've got like George Soros, I think, was involved. Bill Gates has been involved in the Club of Rome. So you can just see how the scenario pans out. And this was just a quick short video basically showing you that hey, look, this topic's worth investigating, and I'm going to reinvestigate it too and look into it deeper. But it takes time, and we have other projects. My next project, I'm really excited about it, and I get accused of saying wow too much. I can't say anything, can I? Few people use snowflakes. Oh, he's twitching. He's twitching both eyes. And ears. So people need to chill. You know, some of the comments you see, you have to laugh at it. I mean, I am ashamed of some of them, to be honest, that they're taking oxygen off good people. But hey, we're all entitled to our own opinion. Well, except me, and I'm just enjoying life, and I'm trying my best to change people's minds that researching is good. Yes, it can get you down, but I try not look into too doom and gloom. I try and have a little smile on my face, trying to make it a little bit, fun where I can, and see I'm a genuine person just looking into things. Yes, this is the beginning, it's basic, but we all have to start at the beginning of a topic, and this is me at the beginning of Klaus Schwab, and seeing all the 11 connections of him being in Kissinger, and I believe the CIA funded his course, not actually his specific course, but courses at the Harvard College, like he did. Then you have the links to 9/11. I'm not saying he did that, but I'm just saying they were all there for it, for his candlelight award. Funny that, wasn't it? Next day it went up. So you can just see it's intriguing. It's worth to look, it's worth putting on the list to look at, because we don't know what great minds out there will find. I've seen some researching, some really smart people, and they're showing you really in depth. But some of it is just hearsay, and like, for instance, his dad being a Nazi and working for a firm that he joined, making propellers and stuff. Now, the guy that was in the picture, his name was actually Walter de Belasque. Now, it's not his dad, but I'm not saying that the photo is not him. All our information is got through this, and anything can be doctored, anything can be altered. I mean, it's just one of those things. So I always like to show where I can that some people believe this, some people believe that. I'm on the fence. I've not seen enough, because it's easy to jump on that and lose your train of thought. So there's just my quick video beginning looking at Klaus Schwab, some of the interesting things I found, and I'm sure there's going to be more when I re-delve back into it. But hopefully you've enjoyed this little bit of different for me again, showing you a different side and a different topic that I normally do. And I'm just thankful for the support. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Please keep your eyes peeled to the channel for the next video. It's, to me personally, it's a game changer. It answers a lot, and I'm excited about it, what I found. Obviously, it's down to opinion again, but hey, I'm honest. So hopefully, keep your eyes peeled, and I'm going to get on it as soon as I finish this. So thanks, guys, for the support. I'm not going to premiere this because it's not long enough. Please like, share, and subscribe this video or others that you find. Please go down my back catalogue. You're going to really enjoy some of the stuff that I've done. And thank you for the support. Please like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for anyone who buys me a coffee or buys me a hair follicle, because I'm trying to grow it. And please take care, and I love the lot of you. Bye, guys. Take care. Doodaloo.